Good morning, Dornbusch Download 100, Andrew and...
John Dornbusch.
John Dornbusch. Hello, good morning. We thought today that we'd actually, as I foreshadowed last week, we'd do a special Dornbusch download, and being at our centenary episode, and you know, it's John's 30 years in the industry next year. So I thought I might spend a couple of minutes just asking John some questions about his time in the industry, some of his thoughts. And we might briefly touch on markets at the end, but today's more about John and sort of 30 years and 100 Dornbusch downloads. So 1987 you started?
1987.
School teacher, and
yes.
You just went, can't do this anymore? Won't do this anymore?
Oh, I just saw an opportunity that was too good to knock back. So I got into the industry, and
it was September 1987.
Great fun. Yep.
And for those students of history, October 1987 was an interesting time for markets. So, 6 weeks into the gig, and the share market decides to fall into a screaming heap.
Absolutely fell in a hole.
And your wife, Mark's just going, John, what have you done to us?
What have we done? That's right.
What have you done to us?
Yeah.
And the office at that stage was in Ruthven Street.
Correct.
I can't remember what number it was. It was pre-public trustee.
Yeah, in the T&G arcade upstairs, a little postbox size.
And you shared an office with someone?
No. I had my own little office. It wasn't very big. Yeah.
Little shoebox. So
myself and a couple of clients could fit in there, basically.
So tell us what, 30 years ago, what was a standard day? So, you wake up, morning margs, what happened from there?
Oh, well, read the newspaper, read the financial review.
So no internet?
No internet. I managed to get an old device that I can't remember the name of. It was a dial-up machine, incredibly slow. That was the best technology available at the time, and I was the only guy in the local area that had that piece of technology, because people thought it was amazing you could execute a trade on the same day they placed it. And
so now we have clients that, if it's not placed immediately, are getting worked up. You're saying that if it wasn't placed in the day, it was a good result.
Yeah, if you could place it, you've completed in the day, it was a good result. And of course, disruptive technologies a modern term, but that's what happened back in. That was one of the results of the share market meltdown. The '87 crash was technology really caught up. So you opened your day by reading the column of the share prices in the financial review, and you had a highlighter, and that was it, and you rang clients. But you spent a considerable part of your day, Andrew, and you probably remember the early part of this, chasing up share certificates. Because
should have brought some anyway.
Yeah, there's share certificates. What a nightmare! And someone would ring up and sell 200 BHP. They might be receiving mail twice a day somewhere out west.
Twice a week.
Twice a week. I beg your pardon. Twice a week, and you'd have to chase up the share certificates. There was no T+1, and
because that's right. Because I remember that we had actually had trades fail because we hadn't received the certificate.
Yes.
And in fact, if we didn't know you, we wouldn't actually do the trade.
Yep.
Until we had the certificate, not because we didn't trust you, but because we needed a bit of a track record there.
And some of the certificates had been replacement certificates. Some had not the full surname,
odd lots.
Odd lots. That's right. There was odd lot, and you changed odd lot brokerage rather, and
so odd lots. You had to sell in certain increments dependent upon the value of the shares.
Correct.
And I can't remember what the sliding scale was now, but basically you had odd lot brokers, and what odd lot brokers would do would aggregate all these smaller parcels together.
That's
so
right.
say it was like BHP, and you had to sell them in lots of 50.
Yeah.
You basically found the odd lot broker who would aggregate all these little ones together to create a lot, and they sort of made money on the difference between the different levels of brokerage.
That's right. So you spent a lot of your day chasing up share certificates and sorting that out. In amongst receiving checks in the mail and all that sort of inefficient stuff. And of course it wasn't electronic HINs and SRNs in those days. No chess. And so you got to know the share registry people by their name. BHP, you rang up Claire and said, it's John Dornbusch from Toowoomba. Claire, I've got so-and-so, and okay, read me the certificate numbers, no big identity issues, a lot of trust in the industry. In those days, it was a lot simpler. And of course, part of it was too that brokerage rates were set by legislation.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Now,
yeah,
it's the market.
Yeah.
It was the state government, didn't it?
State set brokerage rates by legislation, so there was no...
It's like 2-point-something%, wasn't it?
Yeah, I've forgotten the actual split up, Andrew. If I sat down and thought about it, it had come to me. But 2.5% was sort of pretty much the norm. And of course there was stamp duty. Stamp duty was applicable to the trades as well. And at one stage, and you probably remember the year, there was stamp duty and GST.
So 2000 on the changeover, because the state government sort of needed their last gasp of stamp duty money. Clients actually paid 2 lots of tax, which they were very happy about.
Yeah.
So basically that was your day, and then
pretty much.
And so, you know, if we fast forward to, and again, you know, you're now the chair of Dornbusch Partners, a lot of work being done with freight terminals, so not so much hands-on with clients, but apart from all that have the surname Dornbusch. But from your point of view, what changes have been for the better? And I think you've touched on a couple of them already around settlement, you know, not having to deal with share certificates. Any other sort of improvements you've seen?
Oh, I think the sheer efficiency of the industry, when the technological changes come through, it's about increased efficiency, and that's what's really helped. And I think it's given an avenue to people to be able to access the market on a much bigger scale, and also, you know, the real globalisation of the industry. And now we are, as we can all see every day on the news, we're so subject to the movements in the market. You know, overseas, I remember we only represented about 1%, and you'd probably know what it is now, Andrew. 1%, 1% of the global market. So, you know, we're takers, not givers, and you know, that's. But it's good to have people invested in the market. Probably, and a big change has been the growth in derivatives as well.
So I was going to say, from a, dare I say, a negative point of view, so again, over your 30 years, you spoke about things being a lot simpler, and you know, like I remember, you know, clients would ring up wanting to set up a share trading account. Okay, surname, first name, address, thanks very much. Whereas these days, it's having to prove you're not a terrorist and all this weird and wacky stuff. What are some of the challenges you've seen occur over the last 30 years? Oh,
certainly the compliance issues, and the you know, clients probably, it's an annoyance for them, all the compliance we have to go through, and that's here, that's with us, it's what we have to do. And I think the younger generation sort of get that. It's still an annoyance, but the sheer application of regulation and compliance in an industry, I know that's probably to try and as a protection from you know, a lot of the, it's become a little bit more gambling, which is a worry I see.
And I think, you know, when I started with John in 1997, and you know, one of the key lessons you taught me was that the share market is about buying a part of a good business. And I would have to say, I don't think we are there. I mean, that's still sort of the broad concept, but I don't think that is our guiding principle, not Dornbusch, the market. I don't think that is the market's guiding principle. It's a lot more sort of short-termism, and you know, we were just talking before, 85% of all trades is now algorithmic trading. So again, 30 years ago, there would have been no such thing as algos.
No, I guess you can say it was simpler times in the respect that the share market was just a vehicle to hopefully buy a slice of a good company, you know, that was well run and would continue to make profits and pay dividends. And now there's all sorts of derivatives, and many I don't understand. So if I don't understand them, I don't go out of my way to try and understand them. So that gambling aspect of it is a real concern. You know, you can do all the mathematics you like about a company or some algorithmic model, but the reality is people who make good investors, and you can include the share market in that, are people who understand crowd psychology.
And emotion.
And emotion. Keep their emotions under control. And once you put a dollar sign in front of something, emotion enters the room, and common sense tends to leave. So people who control their emotions and think about the existing, what's the zeitgeist? What are people thinking? What are they worried about, etc., etc. And of course, you put trends into that and all sorts of things. It's a lot more complex these days.
Well, I think we might wrap up Dornbusch download 100 and that. I think we could do this for a lot longer. But John, thank you for your time.
Pleasure, Andrew. Thank you.
And till next week.